The bond between a man and his dog is one of unconditional love, loyalty, and companionship. But for Anthony and Tank, their connection went far beyond the ordinary. It was a bond born from loss, forged through mutual healing, and destined to reshape both their lives in ways neither could have predicted. It began in the quiet loneliness of Anthony's new life. Having recently moved to a bustling new city, Anthony was determined to start fresh. The city was alive with opportunity, its streets brimming with energy, and its skyline promising endless possibilities. Yet, for all its vibrancy, the city couldn't fill the void in Anthony's heart. The once exciting idea of living alone had turned into a gnawing sense of isolation. Each night, as he returned to his empty apartment, the silence felt louder than ever. Anthony had always loved dogs. He'd grown up with them, loyal companions who greeted him with wagging tails after school and stayed by his side during long summer evenings. His childhood dog, Max, had been his confidant and best friend. It was no surprise then that the idea of adopting a dog came to Anthony one quiet Sunday morning as he sat in his living room, staring at the newspaper. The local shelter was holding an adoption drive, and Anthony decided it was time to find a new companion to share his life with. The shelter was a modest, gray building surrounded by a weathered fence. Inside, rows of cages lined the walls, each housing a hopeful face. Puppies with boundless energy barked excitedly. Older dogs wagged their tails in calm anticipation, and shy rescues peered curiously from their corners. Anthony walked slowly through the aisles, meeting each dog with a smile and a kind word. Yet, as adorable as they all were, none seemed to be the perfect fit. Just as he was about to leave, Anthony noticed a cage tucked away at the far end of the aisle. Inside was a black Labrador, curled up tightly in the corner. The dog's glossy coat hinted at his breed, but his demeanor was anything but typical for a Labrador. He looked up as Anthony approached, his large, soulful eyes filled with sadness. The shelter staff explained that his name was Reggie and that he had been at the shelter for some time. Despite his good looks, potential adopters always backed out at the last minute. Anthony couldn't understand why. There was something about Reggie that pulled at his heartstrings. He decided, then and there, that he would take Reggie home. The staff were thrilled, though they warned him. It might take him some time to adjust. Give him at least 2 weeks. The drive home was tense. Reggie sat rigid in the back seat, trembling with every bump in the road. Anthony spoke softly to him, trying to reassure him, but the dog remained unresponsive. When they arrived, Reggie refused to leave the car. Anthony had to carry him inside, where the dog immediately retreated to a corner under the sofa and refused to come out. Over the next few days, Anthony tried everything to make Reggie comfortable. He bought new toys, prepared special treats, and even rearranged the furniture to create a more inviting space. Nothing worked. Reggie seemed lost in his own world, uninterested in food, play, or affection. His sadness was palpable, and Anthony began to worry. The 2 weeks passed and Reggie showed no signs of improvement. Heartbroken, Anthony decided it was time to return Reggie to the shelter. He felt like a failure. As he gathered the dog's belongings, he noticed an envelope tucked among them. The words, "To my dog's new owner," were scrawled across it. Intrigued, Anthony opened the letter and began to read. The letter was from Reggie's previous owner, a man named Paul Mallory. It revealed the dog's true name, Tank. Paul had renamed him at the shelter, unable to bear the finality of giving him up. Tank had been Paul's loyal companion for 6 years, a constant presence in his life. As Anthony read on, the truth about Paul's decision unfolded. Paul was a soldier who had been deployed to Iraq. Unable to find someone to care for Tank, he had left him at the shelter with a single request: to keep Tank until his fate was known. Tragically, Paul had been killed in action while saving his comrades. Tears streamed down Anthony's face as he read the letter. Paul had poured his heart into the words, describing Tank as more than just a pet. He was family, a source of unconditional love and inspiration. Paul's final request was simple yet profound. Please love him as I have. Give him the life he deserves. Overwhelmed with emotion, Anthony looked at the dog hiding under the sofa. Tank, he called softly. The reaction was immediate. Tank's ears perked up, his body stiffened, and he turned to look at Anthony with wide, hopeful eyes. In an instant, he sprang to life, running to Anthony and nuzzling into him with a joy that had been absent for weeks. From that moment, everything changed. Tank's transformation was remarkable. He became playful, affectionate, and attentive. He followed Anthony everywhere, his tail wagging with newfound enthusiasm. They spent their days exploring the city, playing fetch in the park, and sharing quiet evenings at home. Anthony couldn't believe the difference a name had made. As the weeks turned into months, Tank flourished. He was no longer the sad, withdrawn dog Anthony had brought home. Instead, he was a loyal companion, a source of joy and comfort. Anthony often thought of Paul, the man who had loved Tank so deeply. He vowed to honor Paul's memory by giving Tank the best life possible. Tank became a local celebrity. Neighbors who had once marveled at the reserved Labrador now smiled as they saw him bounding happily alongside Anthony. People would stop to ask about his story, and Anthony would share Paul's letter, ensuring that Paul's legacy lived on. Through Tank, Anthony found purpose. He volunteered at the shelter, helping other dogs find their forever homes. He started a blog about his journey with Tank, inspiring countless readers with their story of love, loss, and second chances. Tank's story wasn't just about a dog finding a home. It was about the enduring bond between humans and animals, the resilience of the human spirit, and the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. For Anthony and Tank, their journey together was just beginning, and they faced the future with open hearts, ready for whatever came next.